A few moments later.
Hey, what's up guys? New here. Today we got another video for you, a little bit of a different one. It's going to be crafting for profit, featuring the fractured orb, the brand new orb, through the recent Dawn of the Hunt. The whole corruption cleanse mechanic. They drop, yes, they actually drop on the randomly spawned bosses or randomly from monsters, especially if you're like magic finding and increasing the quantity of drops. I have seen a few myself, and they're relatively cheap for what they can do in the game. I have noticed them go up a little bit in value. This video is coming to you a little bit delayed. A lot of the content that you're going to see here in the intro and what you see in the background actually took place over a week ago, but it's still very valid, and it's definitely something a lot of people are only just starting to scratch the surface of, myself included. Okay, I'm somebody who knows how to craft a little bit in PoE1. I know a lot of people meme on this game, ooh, crafting. What do you mean it's crafting? It's just gambling. Well, you can call it whatever you want, but one thing is for certain, two things are for certain. A, finding loot on the ground is more meaningful because you want to actually pick up some rares that have good bases, and they might have rolls that are halfway decent to be crafted on or to be fractured. And B, you don't need an encyclopedia to read up on how to craft before you even get started to even have a chance of doing a good job on it and making a profit. You'd be lucky to even know half of what goes on in PoE1 if you read an encyclopedia on crafting first. So that's kind of nice and definitely much more new player friendly. And that's another reason why I'm making this video, because I was surprised at how little research or effort I needed to do to start dabbling in the whole crafting thing, with fractured orbs especially. Take a look at this helmet in the background. +2 minion skill gems. I don't know anything about minion crafting. I just went on trade, looked up a few energy shield based +2 minion skill gem helmets, and I figured out that they're actually potentially worth a few divines, especially if you get some energy shield, if you get some resist on there, if you get maybe some crit on there, if you don't have a bunch of garbage mods on there. There's a decent chance that you're going to sell something for profit. And indeed, in real time, you're kind of seeing me in the background here craft this and make decent profit on it. I actually sold this helmet as well as those boots that you saw in the intro. Now, the boots are definitely a much safer bet because virtually everyone is going to be running rare boots. Ironically, I'm not in my build currently, but almost everybody is, because they're going to need that 30 to 35% movement speed, and they're going to want those resists and on a decent base. So we're going to be focusing on the boots primarily. But I figured it'd also be a good idea to make this video to help, bring you up to speed on kind of how I was able to make a lot of profit doing this and kind of how I approach crafting and built myself up to it. I figure many of you would have a similar story. Of course, it all starts with, transmutation, augment, and regal orbs. You're doing these things, especially according to Jonathan, as early as Act 1, and you're going to be messing around with weapons, rings, jewelry, things of that nature. Eventually, you start slamming exalted orbs later on. Now, this then transfers to how you craft waystones, typically later on the map. But the first sort of real crafting, I feel like, comes in the form of purchasing items off trade that are sort of half-baked, half-finished. I did this a lot, especially last time around, with evasion-based body armors. So there would be a body armor that would be like 4 really good mods, and it just needed 1 more to be worth 100 times more than what it is. And so I would pay like 5 or 10x for it and then slam it and sometimes sell it for multiple divines in that case, and many times not, and just try to resell it to recoup my losses, or maybe use a chaos orb to try and save it, depending on the mood I was in or my current status and how much currency I had. Another thing I would like to do is the same thing for weapons if I'm using rare weapons. Not a lot of people are using unique weapons, but in the case of this particular one, all throughout this time I've been upgrading my weapon myself. I always purchase a weapon that is not completely done on trade, usually for like 5 to 10 exalts, but for this one actually it cost me 70 exalts. It was missing the accuracy roll. Okay, and I got very lucky, and I just Exalt Slammed Tier 9 accuracy into it. And so for the Amazon, that's incredibly good. I knew that was a pretty good idea because unlike most prefixes, the accuracy isn't weighted against it. So you actually have a decent chance of hitting top tier accuracy as opposed to Tyrannical or Merciless or something like that. It did not have the crit damage bonus. That came later through a Whittling Omen. I'm not going to talk about Omens in here. They're much more higher level. I don't think it's necessary for most of you guys to mess around with Omens at the time. But certainly, trade is just utterly flooded with items that are halfway decent and 1 or 2 slams away from being superb. Or maybe just a Chaos Orb away from being superb. And so it's not a bad idea to buy a lot of these items at bargain prices. That's how I've upgraded my gear. A lot of you are wondering, well, how'd you get your gear? Most of it didn't come from farming Breach or farming Magic Finding this time around. Most of it came from self-crafting, trying to recoup lost and recraft. Honestly, like a lot of it came indirectly from crafting, I would say. So yeah, that's how I kind of ended up leveling up my crafting. Eventually, I wanted to try the whole fracturing thing because, you know, crafting for profit is fun. I don't usually do it, but this kind of presented an opportunity to do that. So the fracturing orb now allows us to start with a modifier and lock in the exact mod we want at the tier we want. I think one of the safest crafts you could possibly do is 35% movement speed on boots. This is item level 82 plus boots. And by all means, you can open up your loot filter, and this time around, unlike PoE1, you'll do all right. Just putting all bases of item level 82 unlocked on your filter, normal, magic, rare. And if you farm, you know, tier 16 maps and +1 level areas, or, you know, irradiated areas, you're going to drop a lot of boots. And if you keep IDing these and, you know, at least just cheaply slam in, you know, alchemies, augments, regals, you're going to hit that 35% mod. And there are a couple different things you can do with it. You can try to recombinate it off onto a better base, which is something we're going to look at here in a minute. And you can also just try to straight up fracture it, especially if it's on a good base. And you can control which bases you do. I'm using the filter blade. The filter is linked down below. For the filter that I'm using, it's not going to show every single base currently, but you can if you want. And so we have a couple boots here that are primed and ready to go. I also had a live search set up to purchase these boots. Quick Slip shoes are the best hybrid evasion energy shield base. Sandsworn sandals are the best energy shield base. I can't remember the best evasion base. And then when it comes to armor, probably forget it because nobody wants armor. So that's why I'm going to try to recombinate it off of here onto that one, which we'll show in a minute. But I figured we go ahead and slam one there, and that's a fail. That missed. And then, wow, that hit. Okay, so cool. I mean, I basically had a 1 in 2 chance of getting it between those two. And now these are dead shoes, which I could use to recombinate, actually, still later. So that is an option. But anyway, we can craft on these in a minute, perhaps. We'll see how it goes. Let's go ahead and first try to recombinate these off so I can kind of show you this. This is another sort of secondary thing, a little bonus content for you. Recombination is not exactly what this video is about, but certainly in fracturing, before you fracture, you really want it to be on a good base, if possible. Bear in mind, these boots are not terrible right now. They're not a great base. They do have a life roll. They got some decent stats, but they're missing a res completely, so probably not going to be very good. Now, with this, it's going to tell you the price, depending on what you're doing, and, you know, I don't want that mod. We'll move that. We want 35% movement speed, and then I could pick, I have to pick at least one mod from each item, and it gives me the chance of success, you can see. It's a little higher, a little lower, depending. This is kind of good. It's going to favor the fire res roll, which actually would be pretty good. And the cool thing is if it creates these boots with these two mods, I at least have a chance to craft on it prior to fracturing it, so I can at least slam it twice. And then we could see what happens there. Let's see if I had any success. And it failed. Okay. So it basically just poofs if it fails. If it succeeds, I think it would have picked one of those two bases and then given me that 35% movement speed and 38% fire res. And I could have, you know, tried to add a few mods on there and then at least two extra mods. So I'd have 4. And then I could have tried to fracture it again. Or if it chose the wrong base, guess what? I could have tried to recombinate it again. And, you know, I think I could still recombinate the 35% movement speed off of these boots onto another pair that wouldn't be fractured, or maybe onto the same pair that would not have the fracture. So, I mean, there's so many different steps and re-steps that you could take to make this work. But it looks like we had some success already here with these boots. And so, just like I showed on the intro, I would slam it a couple times. And I kind of know what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for evasion, energy shield. I'm looking for life. Mana's okay, rarity's okay, and res, primarily res. If I were to somehow get a 3 high res on here, these boots would be phenomenal. And this is basically just grinding out chaos orbs at this point. You know, there's nothing too crazy you can do. Obviously, omens are good. We got a lightning res roll that would be good. We got some life there. This is starting to look decent, but it could come crashing down. That's a great hybrid roll. We got another res. Lost that we got int. I forgot int is actually decent. These are starting to look okay, but yeah, I kind of kept going and crashed it down. So it could cost you a lot, for sure. But do keep in mind, 35% movement speed boots that are pretty well rolled are worth many divine, in some cases dozens of divines, if they're actually good. So decent chance for me to come out good here over time. I'm curious how many chaos orbs it'll take me this time to get something decent. Basically just looking for like 2 high tier res, and that's about it. Maybe at 1 decent prefix, either with a energy shield evasion or life. Now that's a perfect res roll. It's 35%, as high as it can go. But you can see I'm kind of running out of chaos orbs, so we're going to have to buy a few more. Constantly liquidating everything I have, so your boy's always kind of broke. It goes into the gear, as you can see. If I were to get another tier 8 res roll, these are done. Straight up done. Especially now. Especially now. Wow, I should almost finish these right now. Yep. Should have stuck with that. Probably should have stuck with that. We hit the high tier res again. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I did hit a triple res boot. Unfortunately, the roll range is pretty low, but you can see I blew through about 50 chaos orbs, okay? And that's, yeah, that's a few divines, 2 or 3 divines, probably counting the fracture orb, but I guarantee you I made profit on this. There's no doubt in my mind I made profit on these. Somebody's going to be drooling at 3 res boots, even if some of the tiers are low, and even with the prefixes being bad. You could obviously whittle off flat if you want. I mean, this does have some halfway decent evasion and energy shield, so that's going to look rather appealing to some people. And just for good measure, we'll make them look pretty, except I don't have an iron rune, so yep, going to do that too. Iron runes, these greater iron runes used to be really expensive, and now they're not too much. Scam myself. Wow, almost 100 energy shield. Okay, and these are done. And then I can sell these. I will, of course, look on trade to see how much they're worth. And yeah, we'll call it a day. I mean, that's... I may make a fool of myself, but I would just guess off the top of my head these are worth at least 10 divines. Just guessing. And if they are, that's... Yeah, that's like an 80% profit margin. Well, it looks like I, did have access to some other boots, so I have another pair of 82 boots. Probably need them to be 82 on both ends. I don't know if you can transfer an 82 plus mod over to a 81 or lower base item level I'm referring to. Probably not, but I'm not going to take that risk. Let me know in the comments if you can. Somebody will probably know. And so here, of course, we'll take the movement speed mod and, I don't know, I guess life. Let's just see what it says here. Seem to have a pretty high chance anyway. This lightning res roll is pretty cheap. What if I try to do all of them? Well, then I'm going to get punked. I'm kind of curious to see what happens. I actually really hope it chooses the quick slip boot. And I don't know, it failed anyway. So I can't get the recombinator luck. I feel like I got pretty lucky as it is, all things considered. So yeah, we'll just kind of leave it there. You got to see in the intro what it looked like to craft on boots. You got to see it actually in real time. You got to see a different item with a helmet. And again, just kind of explaining the steps taken up. It starts with the lower tier orbs, starts with the transmutes and the regals, and then some exalts, and then it starts by buying almost finished items off trade, one slam away from being good. And then, you begin to go a little bit deeper into it, start trying to fracture things from scratch. There's no scouring orbs, and so that makes it, that keeps it so the market will constantly rip out bases, and that'll make it so at least one indirect impact, which I think is honestly pretty awesome, rare items are kind of exciting to look at off the ground, especially when they're higher tiered. It makes the higher tiered items really, you know, the ones at tier 2 through 5, tier 5 especially, end up being very high roll ranged rolls, and so if you hit the right mods, you can just end up with a spectacular item right away. So there's a lot to say on the state of crafting in the game. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of it. It's extremely jarring coming from PoE1 with all the different things you can do and all the more or less deterministic ways that you can craft. Much more RNG involved in this one, but way fewer things that you have to like know or mess with as well. And rest assured, the economy will always balance itself one way or another, and people who do craft, regardless of the state of crafting, will make out like bandits if you know, they take it to its extreme and they know what they're doing. So I would prefer if you know what you're doing a little bit better, and hopefully this video would kind of, you know, jog you into thinking about crafting a little bit for yourself, or at least get you to research, again, minimal amount. Doesn't require as much as it does in PoE1 to figure this out. Let me know in the comments below if you have crafted any GG items, or if you're in the process of doing something crazy with mirror tier crafting, or if you just crafted a really awesome pair of boots or a weapon or something you're excited about. Let us know what happened for you. It's been some of my favorite moments in the game, for sure. And that might come to a surprise to some of you, since, you know, usually I'm focusing so much on farming. But anyway, this is a crafting video. It might be the only one of the entire season from me. Yeah, we'll see. Next up will definitely be some more farming content. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.